Welcome back to another episode of Negative Exposure. Today, we're talking about artificial intelligence inside of photo editing software. So the first question, TC, right off the bat, what are your initial thoughts with artificial intelligence inside of photo editing software?
Well, that's when I first heard about it. I think I read an article about it in Wired magazine. This is really before I was doing any photo editing. There's artificial intelligence, and then there was another. It's AI, and then there's another artificial intelligence thing they use, but not in photo editing software. AI, when I first heard about it for photo editing software, probably Luminar AI came out.
Okay.
Whatever year that was, I forget what year it was, but that's as far as photo editing software. I'm not sure if they was the first to have it, but that's where I first heard about artificial intelligence for helping you edit photos.
Yeah, Skyloom has been using AI inside of their software for a long time. I think they originally started in Luminar 4 with the face portrait AI, whatever we want to call that. And then they had a version of Sky replacement, I think, in Luminar 4. I could be wrong, but I think they did.
I'm pretty sure I had Luminar 4. So I must have, either at that time I didn't utilize it or it was like, I don't know nothing about this. I don't know what I'm doing here. And I just use it, the regular editing features, and that was it.
Yeah, and I guess that brings up a good question. Do you currently have any software that has AI built into it?
Yeah, I have several, and it seems like almost overwhelming at times. Because Luminar came out with it, and then Photoshop and Lightroom, and then there's now just name Affinity has it. On most photo editing software programs, don't they all have some kind of AI in them now? It's just it's all over the place.
Yeah,
But it's not in app, or is it in Apple? I'm not sure if it's in the Apple Photos app or not.
AI for editing, maybe not so much. They do have like AI searching, so you can type in like tree and it'll find photos of trees, and that's even built into your smartphone. But you did mention earlier that it's a little overwhelming. What is it? AI in your software, whatever program you're using. What is it that's overwhelming about it?
I don't think I'm using it like probably the way it should be used. Now, if there's a correct or incorrect way, that may not matter, but just the fact that it's there. For example, I think I was in Luminar Neo, and I wanted to crop something, and it has a button that you can says AI crop or AI composition AI. That's what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
And you click that, and it's supposed to bring the crop AI and intelligently supposed to bring up a nice crop for you, but it never does. I mean, it's they're not going by the rule of thirds, which I like to try to follow at least some aesthetic thing when I'm cropping. Like have the subject on one of the lines where it crosses, and it does make a difference when I'm looking at a photo to see that.
Yeah.
But I haven't used. That's the only. Is that the only one? Does the other programs have AI composition or cropping? I don't know, but I mean that one. All I know is that don't work very well for me for when I crop, and I'm most all the time cropping.
Yeah, so I don't know of any other program that has a crop AI feature. And
Have you tried to? Do you have Luminar Neo?
I do. I have Luminar Neo, and I don't use Luminar Neo as much as I probably thought I would have when I picked it up. But between On One and Affinity Photo, I get most of my editing done.
I'm not sure. I have Affinity Photo too, but I'm not sure if they have crop AI or composition.
No, I don't think they
Luminar
do.
Neo calls it composition AI. It's
Right.
supposed to look and give you a nice composition in the crop, but
Yeah,
I'm
and
still looking for it to give me one, and it hasn't.
yeah, and I've played around with it when I originally picked up the program, but I never went anywhere with it. It never developed into something where I was like, I have to use this program for that. Instead, what I use Luminar for is really nothing AI related. So I'll just mention this and then we'll move on. Is for the color harmony. They
Oh
have
yeah,
a
that's an excellent program. Oh, I
right.
agree, 100%.
That's the only reason why I use
Top of
or
the line.
like whenever I think like, hey, I need to go into Luminar for something. The color harmony is the thing that pops into my mind, and that's because Lightroom has the calibration tool, and I just haven't found I guess a supplement or an alternative to calibration inside of On One, which is my primary editor. And
Well, I
you
was
know,
going to ask you about that next, about On One, to see if you've kind of found one. I think I found one in Affinity, Chris. Color, it's almost like the one in Luminar Neo, the way that they have the way it works. But anyway,
yeah, a topic for another day.
yeah,
But
definitely.
when we talk about AI and software, so I'll just recap a few of the programs that do have AI editing features built into them. So obviously Luminar Neo, that's like one of their main staples. They're really marketing that really hard. Lightroom Classic has AI masking built into it, and it's actually pretty impressive. And I'm not going to jump on
I
the
heard that
Adobe
it was. I
bandwagon,
haven't tried it.
but
Yeah, I heard that it was.
I
Yeah.
will, I will, I can absolutely attest to the fact that it is phenomenal and it is amazing the way that it works. And
No,
then, of
Lightroom,
course,
Adobe's paying you to say that. I know they are.
yeah, well, they're not paying me much because I haven't gotten a check from them yet.
You
But
never can tell though. But anyway, yeah,
yeah, my
they've come a long way too.
yeah, my real take here is to share information that makes the most sense and that's just honest and downright
Right.
true. So, Adobe,
Exactly.
phenomenal job. Thank you for what you guys do over there in Lightroom and Photoshop. And then On One has a really good AI
I was going to ask
built
you about that
into
because
it.
I know you're a big, and I love On One too, the new release too. But I know you spoke and have several tutorials out on their AI stuff that they have. I haven't looked at On One's, closely enough to see, but I mean, I know they've
Yeah.
really upped their game with it too.
Yeah, and so here's what I'll say about the AI inside of On One. It works, and it works really well on things that it works really well on. It does not work really well, and that sounds very oversimplified.
No, well, I mean, hey, it makes perfect
but
sense though. I understand what you're
when
saying.
it
I think people
works,
will know what you're.
yeah, when it works great. Unfortunately, it's not consistent in its working. Like it doesn't work consistently. And I know that the team over at On One, they're doing what they can to develop the software and to make the masking better. In fact, they recently put out an update that is supposedly making the masking better. In my opinion, I have not seen
think,
the
yeah.
mask improve.
Yeah, and they're also offering a huge master masking course.
Yeah, and so here's what I will say, because Dan at On One, he put out a video and he showed where the improvements of the mask were at. And in his demonstration, I'm not going to argue, like that was definitely night and day difference from the original release. And this is actually what's exciting to me, is the fact that the program continues to improve. Now, in my testing, I took this exact same photos that I ran the AI tests on, or my demonstrations. I took the exact same photos, and with the release, I ran the AI on it again, tried to do the exact same edits, and I got the exact same results. So in my testing, I have not seen any difference in the way that the mask works. If you go to the forums, it's almost a mixed bag with people saying The AI works great in On One. The AI sucks in On One. Here's what I will say. The AI is just a tool to help you get a mask a little bit faster. And as they continue to improve it, you're going to be able to get better masks. What AI does not do, and I want to be very clear, in photo editing software, what AI does not do, well, in most photo editing softwares, what it doesn't do is make artistic decisions for you. What it does is it gives you a mask so that way you can apply whatever settings you want to apply to that area. Like if you need to mask out hair, yes, please sign me up for the AI version of that, because I don't want to sit there with a brush trying to get all the little strands of hair and, refining and all that nonsense. If there's an AI tool that will mask out hair for me and, let me get a selection of hair.
But you're seeing all these tutorials on that hair masking.
Yeah.
And of course the photograph of someone with a solid background. So the contrast is there, and the AI can pick out immediately all the, on each strand of hair.
Yeah.
Put someone in a natural setting and then try to mask it out.
So what I will also say in my testing, I have tried masking on various backgrounds of contrast, right? So backgrounds where the hair is similar in tone and color, but there's a very well-defined edge. So technically that is a contrasted background, right? Because all we're talking about with contrast, if you're not familiar, is the gradation between bright and dark. If you can see a solid line, then that means that there's contrast, because there's a difference in, there's a well-defined separation.
And that's how the AI detects that difference, and that's how it works.
In theory.
Kinda, in theory, yeah.
Yeah, because what I have found is it does not. There are some things where you're like, man, this should have done a really good job cutting that out. And it with On One at least, there's some challenges, and I don't want to rag on One. This is not the let's find a way to beat up on One podcast, because that's not the intent. But what I will say is, if you are on the fence about artificial intelligence in photo editing software, and you think that it's going to make editing decisions for you, that's not how it works.
It's going to take over the creative process.
Yeah.
Which kind of, I've got several years on you. I'm kind of older, and it's like, I know artificial intelligence, I've got a good understanding of what it is, but when it's making certain decisions for me that I have been making myself in editing my photos, then I'm going, that did a better job than I could ever do. And particularly so with masking. But I don't think, now I used to think that it did kind of take some of the creative, kind of threw you a curve. Your creativity was kind of taking a back seat to what the AI could do. But I think I've changed on that now.
Yeah, the AI, if there's going to be a creative decision AI tool or if there's an AI tool on the market that takes creative decisions out of your hands, it would be the AI auto feature inside of On One, where it exposes your image for you. Now,
you know what? That's a great point.
Now,
I've used that one, in Luminar has one too, I think.
But that's not, in my opinion, because it still gives you complete control over all of the things that were modified. You have the opportunity to go in and say, you know what? I think that there needs to be more blacks in this image, or there needs to be more whites, or I need to modify the midtones a little bit different. And all that the AI tool is doing is, again, making your editing go that much faster.
Let me ask you this. Have you used the On One's tool that is it super select AI, and you bring your image up and you just mouse on a section of the image and it highlights it already masked, and then you like can move your mouse over to another part of the image and boom, it's masked, and you just pick the one that you want to mask.
Yes.
Have you used that?
I've tried it, and I'm still working through it. I'll be honest.
It's fairly new stuff, isn't it? That kind of stuff that they're doing with this AI, isn't that relatively?
Yeah, new, but that's not the reason. Not because it's new. It's because it's a different editing style. And when you are used to taking out a brush and manually painting in the areas that you want to select, you lose
No matter how long it took you.
right.
Yeah.
You lose a form of nostalgia and interaction with your image because we're jumping into the microwave society of photo editing, where you can just bake an image in 3 seconds or less. And I'm all for that in some regards, right? Where if you're a high capacity shooter where you're photographing, 1,000 to 2,000 or plus,
Wedding photographer, for example. Yeah.
right, and you need to just get some edits out so you can make money, hey, I'm all for that. But if you're more of a niche type of photographer and you're really into the editing of making the edit more personal, then what I think ends up happening is the AI masking, it intrudes on that a little bit. And
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
It makes the editing process feel different. And like I walk away not as satisfied with my edits when I use the AI mask on things where it's like, man, I kind of just enjoy the painful, tedious back and forth and, paint in, paint out method to really make the mask happen on the image that I'm working on. But there's nothing wrong with that, right? I think we tend to make anyone who doesn't like the AI, we make them feel like they should be isolated and they're old and they're fossils and stuff like that, right? But that's not the way that it works. Like,
I haven't really heard any bad stuff about other than I mean it's the things that I think these software companies will fix.
yeah. So
With their AI, because
it's not that it's the companies are not making bad stuff. What I'm talking about is the culture around AI.
Oh, I agree. Yeah,
because in a moment, I do have a question for you that we can kind of move the conversation in a different direction about AI. But what I was really getting at is there is a subset of photo editors out there that they like to believe like, oh, well, if you don't want to use the AI tools, then you're just not advancing with the times, and you want to go back into a dark room, and so what? Like, it's okay. I call those guys photo snobs because
I think I've met a few or seen a few. Yeah,
and there's no right or wrong way, right? Photography is art, photo editing is art, digital manipulation is art, and if some people like watercolors, some people like acrylics, some people like pastels. It's all
some people like full frame, some people like APS-C,
exactly,
micro four thirds, yeah.
And whenever someone gets into the whole pixel peeping game, which again, whole nother conversation, but as soon as people start pulling you aside and they're like, oh well, if you use AI, you're cheating. Which kind of drives me into the question that I was alluding to earlier.
Let's hear the question.
So,
hope it's not too hard.
Nah, it's not hard at all. It's 100% opinion based.
Okay.
So, okay, because you got an opinion. So there was a photo editing or a photo competition, and there was an individual who submitted a photo using artificial intelligence. Now, what I'm not clear on is if the individual used artificial intelligence to create the entire image, or if they used artificial intelligence to edit an image that they captured with a camera of any sort. Now, here's where my question is, and where we can kind of have the conversation for a moment, is the photo editing organization, or I'm sorry, the photo contest organization, they decided that as one of the prizes was going to be Luminar Neo, which has all of this AI baked into it. They apparently disqualified the person who won, or had an uproar about the person who won, because they used AI in some regard in order to win, but they're giving out a tool that has AI all in the tone. So my question is, do you think that it's a good or bad idea to hold people accountable for using artificial intelligence in photo editing competitions or photo competitions when the prize is a editor that has AI built into it?
There's a word for that.
Okay.
And the first two letters are BS.
Okay.
No, that's just like, why in the world would you sponsor a contest, photo contest? Why would a company sponsor this photo contest? Then give it, and then this big uproar about whoever won. First off, how did they know that the winner used AI? And then second, if that disqualified him, if that was in the rules or regulations for the contest, not what would be the 11th commandment: thou shalt not use AI intelligence in thy software, or something. And then he wins photo contest, and then they give away his prizes is a photo editing software program that has AI all through it.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure there were more prizes for the first place other than just the Luminar Neo, but that was definitely one of the prizes that they were offering to the podium.
Is there anything out? Is there anything out about it that you can?
So I'll be honest. I
haven't researched it.
Yeah.
I haven't heard. That's the first time I've heard of it.
So this was through a YouTube video that I watched a few weeks ago, maybe even a month ago now. And it was just one of those things, like, as we're talking about artificial intelligence and software and the culture in the community, like how this is impacting photography as a whole. I think photo competitions, for a lot of people, that seems to be a interest, right? I mean, I've been in a few photo competitions many years ago. I say many, it's like 2 years ago, but that feels like an eternity ago, because
it feels like, yeah.
There's so many competitions that happen, year round. And one, I didn't use AI to edit. I didn't place. I didn't do a very good job in this competition.
But you entered it, and you didn't use AI.
Yeah, honestly, I entered the competition or the multiple competitions really just for the experience, to see like what it's about. And that's a conversation for another day. But
did they have any regulation, or do you remember if they had any regulation stating that
so one of them was a photojournalism competition, and you just had to capture life, and it was centered around COVID-19. And obviously with photojournalism, you can modify some exposure and
right. That stuff like that, but you wouldn't want to change, the drastic thing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And then the other ones were like, I entered into a, what is it? When you add a composite competition, where they offered you the images, and then you had to turn those, you had to composite them. And that was actually kind of fun. I would do that again.
Yeah. Compositing. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Did the AI help you in that contest?
Oh, I didn't use AI.
Oh, you didn't use, okay.
No.
Okay.
So I went and I did it all in Affinity Photo. Like I took the 5 images that they offered in the competition, put it into Affinity Photo, and then, just started working and working and working until I got to an end result. And I was like, okay,
Did
there's
they
my
have
composite.
AI then? Did they have AI? Do they have now? I think they have AI now, don't they? In there,
I'm not aware of any AI in Affinity Photo.
I don't know. I don't know either.
I mean, the selection tool, the quick selection tool, if you want to count that as AI, but even still, I wouldn't consider that to be AI. And photography competitions, I don't think, one, they would never know if you use that type of AI. It's when you start using AI to generate aspects of your image, like backgrounds or
Sky replacements.
sky replacements or people, buildings. Luminar Neo has power line removal AI or something like that. And, if you use something like that, one, it does a pretty good job. I'm not going to knock that feature. But,
Yeah, who wants power lines in their photos? I mean,
but I do have,
unless you're showing a street photography and you're in a neighborhood and all you see is power lines, then that's something you'd want to leave in. But
or if you're making the power lines a part of the composition. But, again, like as soon as you load an image to the point that I think I want to make is when you load an image into an editing software, it's not making decisions for you. Like it doesn't look at it and say, oh, there's a bunch of power lines. Let me get rid of those. And then you're like, no, I want to keep those. No, you have to tell the software, hey, get rid of the power lines. And with Luminar, it does a pretty good job. It leaves some artifacts and you got to go back and clean those up. And depending on how good you are at using clone stamp or where it left the artifact, that could cause more time. So sometimes in order to remove the power lines, what I recommend people do is you use the clone stamp tool to get it away from any edges, and, modify it and make it look the way that you want in that area. So when you use the power line tool, it doesn't even look at that area to remove the power line and add in some artifacts. Instead, it's just going to go into those other areas. And
that's how you've used it, and it's worked well like that.
It works a lot better that way. Yes. And
that's a good tip to know.
And that's also a good point. Look, you have to learn how to combine the old school method with the new school method. And
that's a perfect example there, I would say.
Absolutely. And I'll give you another example. On One, they recently added in the original quick selection AI masking feature. And there's also Super Select AI. Now, very rough difference between the two. Super Select AI, you click on a thing, it masks it, and then you can add in.
Talking about earlier,
right.
Yeah.
With the Super Select AI, with the Quick Mask AI, you actually tell On One, I want you to keep this, and then you highlight another section in red, and you tell On One, I want you to delete this. So knowing how to use both of those together is actually going to help you in the long run, because what you can do is you can use Super Select AI to select a large portion of something. And then you're like, okay, well, now I need to get rid of this other area. Let's say we're selecting a person. Well, Super Select AI, it selects the entire person. So if there are hands, torso, shoulders, it's going to select everything, right? But then you may say, well, I only want to select the skin of the person. Well, you take the Super Select AI and you make all of the clothes as a paint out or paint in, whichever way you want to work. And then you can put in your adjustment to the skin and you've just selected the skin only. Now, that's a 2-step process. Lightroom makes that process so much easier, because it reads the skin and it reads it as face skin
I wonder how
and body
their AI
scan.
has that ability to do that. I've heard some good things about Lightroom's AI.
Yeah.
I've heard some really good things about it. About their AI masking in particular.
Yeah, Lightroom has some really good AI, and that's something. If you know, you know, and if you don't want to pay for the AI subscription, that's okay. I think that you'll do well with Luminar and On One.
I'm
So
gonna have to try their. It's nice that if I do see, I haven't really needed to do any heavy masking. Usually don't. Remove a power line or something. Lightroom had the ability to where you clicked on one end of the you clicked your eraser tool once, and then you held down your shift key or your option key and you went to the end of it, and you clicked again, and boom, it would erase it
yeah,
like that. I don't think that's using AI though.
no, that's not.
But yeah, but I don't. A very little things that I have. So AI for me, like I'll get surveys every now and then. What do you like? What do you dislike? How can we improve? I've never been one to check off the things that say make your AI do this or do that. I just
Yeah,
haven't found the need to use it. But it's nice knowing that it's there and available and it works good.
yeah.
Especially knowing that it works good if I do need it.
Yeah. So here's what I'll say about that as we kind of land the plane on today's episode is one, AI is not something I believe anyone needs to upgrade their software for. And I say that in regards of the AI features that everyone keeps talking about, like the Sky Swap AI. Yes, that's a big deal. If you find the value in always swapping out your Sky, then maybe it's worthwhile to update for that. But if you're on a older version of On One, there's, in my opinion, no need to update just for the AI features because they're not that phenomenal. Now, when it comes to Lightroom, if you are a Lightroom CC or Creative Cloud user, well, guess what? You're going to get all the updates. So you might as well update it. It's no extra cost to you because you're already paying for it either on an annual subscription or a monthly subscription. And you will not be disappointed in the features that Lightroom comes in with their AI. And then Luminar Neo, the whole reason that Luminar Neo exists is because they wanted to add in those modular plugins. Now, nothing wrong with Luminar Neo. I think that it's a good program.
But they've gotten some flack for that part of the.
And I'm not mad at them. Like, again, another conversation for a different day, but I'm not mad at Skyloom for making the decision that they made to add in all of these plugins. Because what they're essentially doing, if you look at it, Luminar Neo or Skyloom is directly competing with On One, with everything that they offer. Their night vision. They don't have a night vision plugin. The no noise. Yeah. That's coming. Hey, you're welcome, Skyloom. Come out with a night vision plugin. No, the no noise AI versus their noiseless AI or whatever they want to call it, right? On One has a noise reduction AI tool. So does Luminar. On One has a focus stacking capability, and now so does Luminar.
On One did On One have it before?
Yeah, On One had it before.
They did. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's not that great. You can only stack 15 images in On One.
Well, I'm just learning all about focus stacking, and I've been a photographer since. Oh, but yeah. But anyway, yeah. So their AIs, so Luminar Neo and On One, they're competing with these extensions and with what they can do with their AIs, and let's get this AI out before the other one gets that AI out.
Well, I mean, honestly, Skyloom's playing catch up to On One. Now, what I will say is, in some areas, Skyloom is making better progression than On1 has. And to be fair, both programs are pretty finicky and glitchy, is what I keep hearing across the internet.
You mean with their AI or their masking,
just the stability of the program.
Yeah, I hear some flack about Luminar Neo's response or taking a while to do things or something. I've heard that, but anyway.
Yeah, On1 crashes, and that's fine. I've said this all throughout my tutorials on my channel, and I'm okay with it because I never lose any data. Because the way that I work is once I'm done with large segments of editing, I close the photo out so that way it saves to that QMP file. And everything's just constantly being backed up because I can sit on an image and work on it for 40 minutes until I'm complete with it. But in that 40-minute time frame, I've probably closed and opened the image about 9 to 10 times. So I have all of my data backed up, or at least a good portion of it. So if it does crash and I open it up and it's like, oh, well, the exposure over here is in the local adjustment, that local adjustment isn't there.
Of backups,
yeah,
which is a subject for a different podcast. But anyway, there's a, and I don't remember where I heard about this just recently. There's a program for your photos that takes care of all that for you. It knows.
Oh.
It knows that you need a backup, and it AI tells it so.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
but anyway,
there's a few of them, but yeah. The main point that I want to make here is you don't need to upgrade if you don't need it, or if you don't feel like you're going to use it, because as much, I don't know why I'm about to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. On1 22.5 is, well, actually, I take that back. On1 2023 is more stable than 22.5 when it comes to On1. Now, I have Luminar AI. I have barely touched that thing. I
haven't since Luminar Neos came out. I haven't used Luminar AI.
Well, even before Luminar Neo came out, I used to. I would like fantasize. I romanticized about how I would just edit these gorgeous images in Luminar AI, and then I opened it up and I was like, there was something that just didn't work for me with the user experience. And
I don't even. I know where you're coming from because I had Luminar AI and it never did really do anything for me either.
Right, which is why I think they had to come out with Neo. Because,
everybody was saying that, I guess.
The modular system of the plugins that, everyone is saying that they're overpriced, which I don't know. They could be. I think that their plugin should absolutely be a part of the overall package.
Yeah.
Like
if you're going to subscribe, if you're going to be a subscriber, then get your subscription fee.
Well, no, I'm not even talking about that. I'm saying like if you buy it one time, all of those plugins should be in there, like how On1 does it, because they are not offering anything that isn't already a built-in feature to a lifetime member or purchase, a one-time payment for On1.
Well, I guess there's a price difference, isn't there? I haven't checked the prices in any of that.
Luminar, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say $89 for a lifetime payment or lifetime subscription or whatever. Like you buy it once, pay $89 one time,
and you get updates with it. You have to pay for upgrades. The difference between upgrades and updates.
You do get updates for that version, but you definitely don't get.
When it
upgrades.
Comes out with a new version, you have to pay for, even though you've paid $80 whatever.
Yeah, you got to pay the upgrade price, but. On1, on the other hand, like I said, all of the things that Luminar keeps coming out with, On1 has already had in their software. Now, albeit it's not the greatest, it probably could be much, much better, but it is already inside of On1. And that's why, I'm curious to see what happens in the second year in 2023 with Skyloom. Because if they're building a platform of plugins and they come out with some really unique plugins that don't exist in other programs on top of their AI editing capability, if they enhance that, Luminar Neo could become the AI platform to beat. Because truth be told, they're not that far off from Lightroom.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
They have some work to do. And
Well,
I'll put it like this. They have a lot of work to do, but they're not that far off that they
I
can't
don't think
put in
they
the
are
work
either.
to get there.
I'm finding myself using Luminar Neo more and more, as a matter
Yeah.
of fact. But
I don't think
their
on one is
cataloging
going
system.
to. I don't think on one is going to catch up to Lightroom in 2023. And
What about their cataloging? I mean, that's a different.
right,
That's a subject for a different podcast.
yeah, I'm talking purely AI masking and the
Yeah.
capabilities. Luminar has a lot of those features, and they can do so much better. And hopefully they do better. Whereas Lightroom,
I'm gonna try to test out that On One's 2023 masking. I'm gonna have to try to do a little bit more, learn a little bit more about that, and see how it compares.
yeah, it feels like it feels very clunky. The on one masking, it's
But
like,
Lightroom, you says, has both of them beat,
oh yeah, yeah.
hands down, huh?
Yeah, on one feels like you're trying to put square blocks in round holes, and you're like, why doesn't this work? That's
Why don't it? Yeah, take a look at Lightroom.
yeah,
Call Adobe's engineers.
yeah. But there comes a time when you get a small enough rectangle that can go into a wider circle, and it's like, hey,
It will go in there, yeah.
that worked. It wasn't the right way, but it worked, and it's a pleasant surprise. So if you like, what's the word that I'm thinking of, when you see something and you get like if you like variable surprises where you don't know what you're gonna get, like you
Expected surprises.
yeah, unexpected surprises. If you like that, then definitely use the on one AI. That's what I would say. But if you want to be more accurate and have a consistent AI record or AI mask, you definitely want to go to Lightroom. And I'm not paid by Adobe. I am an affiliate for On One, and I seem to be like the only affiliate that's not like singing the praises of On One. Although On One is hands down my favorite photo editing application. And
There you go.
it's like if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, right?
Yeah.
Like good, bad,
See,
and different.
I wish I could come out and name one of mine, because I'm still trying to decide. I was going to say it used to be Lightroom, and all these other ones were, I was measuring them against Lightroom. But now, I mean, I'm liking what On One Photo Raw 2023 is doing. I'm really, each time, and I found a color balance in there too, Chris. I think
Okay.
it was On One. I think it was On One that I found it in, or it might have been Affinity.
So they do have yeah, I believe it'll be Infinity, but I'm talking about the calibration tool, where it shifts the hue of the pixel
Oh yeah,
as opposed
On One
to
you said
just
don't
the
have
color.
On One don't have that.
No,
Oh,
which is why it's such a big deal that Luminar Neo has the color harmony. And, that's a conversation that we can really talk about, because if you are really big into color, the color calibration tool in Lightroom is the biggest slept on thing, because it seems complicated, because you go down there and it's like, red, green, and blue. And you're like, or magenta, cyan, or something, whatever
and
it
I
is.
was afraid to fool with it forever because of that fact.
Right, because people are like,
I was
oh, I'm
afraid
going to
to
mess
mess
up.
with this. I didn't want to get nothing out of calibration
Yeah,
by sliding those sliders around.
and that is a huge disservice. Like,
Oh, it is. It works great.
yeah,
I mean, it's, if you're talking similar to color balance in Luminar Neo, almost as good. I mean, before I knew about color balance in Luminar Neo, before I found it in Affinity Photo, I was relatively new to using that calibration tool on Lightroom. But when I started watching a few tutorials on it,
Yeah.
man, it made a huge difference in some of my landscape photos.
Yeah, and I really sat down with Luminar Neo after I got the hang of color harmony, and I
And
was
that's not even AI either.
no, that's not
just,
AI.
no,
It's
that's not
not
AI.
probably not value added for this conversation, but
Right, we
if
keep going off on the
yeah,
left and right.
yeah. We'll leave the
Supposed to be
rabbits
all
to
about
rest.
AI.
Yeah, we'll leave the rabbits to rest tonight, and
Yeah.
and just leave it there. That AI, it
I
is.
think it's here to stay. You think it's here to stay, and
Absolutely.
it's good. I mean, but like you mentioned too, takeaway: don't feel like you have to go out and buy a solver program just because it's got this AI stuff. Don't feel that away.
Yeah, I would say
It's a tool to help you.
definitely do not throw money at a program thinking that that's going to solve your problem or make you a better editor. And that's the other thing. I don't think AI is going to make you a better photo editor. It's just going to make your edits better.
Yeah, it makes your decision making process better.
Yeah,
Your editing. Yeah,
And that
The way
sounds
you
like it
edit.
doesn't make
Yeah.
sense, right?
Oh, it
That
makes
it's not
perfect
going to make you
sense.
a better photo editor. It's just going to make your edits better. And you're like, well, if my edits make no. Here's what I mean by this is it's not going to make you better at editing photos because editing photos is an art form. All it's
Yeah,
going to
subjective,
do
very
is
subjective.
help you take what you see or think about, like whatever your vision is, when you were inspired to capture the image, and you're like, I can edit that in post production. What these tools are going to do is take that vision and make the software bend to your will to get that end result. And that's why I'm saying
think
it's
if-
going to make your edits better, but it's not going to make you a better photo editor.
That's a great saying. That's a perfect saying, and you explained it perfectly. That's spot on, Chris.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right. Well, we'll leave it there for tonight.
All righty.
And
Been a pleasure again, sir.
yeah, thank you all for hanging out with us today on Negative Exposure. Like always, you can check the show notes or the description box down below, links to our social platforms and YouTube channel and so forth. And we would love to connect with you in whatever way. And if you got questions, you can reach out to us. And yeah, so until next time, we want you guys to chill and we'll catch you on the next episode.
All right. Peace.